Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Dante.
an inmate at the Jackson Correctional Institution. All calls, other than properly placed attorney calls, may be monitored and recorded. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2. If you would like to permanently block your number from receiving calls from this facility, press 6. For balance and rate quotes, press 7. Thank you for using CenturyLink. You may start the conversation now.
Welcome to the Incarcerate U.S. podcast. I'm your host, Dante Cottingham. And this morning I'm speaking to Mr. Joshua Kangley. He's an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and the author of a book entitled The 7 Principles of Success. Good morning, Mr. Kangley.
Good morning, Dante. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to have this discussion with me this morning.
Well, thank you so much, and I also just want to say thank you as well. I'm honored to be here, and I'm a huge advocate of what you're doing there.
I appreciate it. It's my pleasure. I have some questions I'd like to ask you to get your perspective on some of the components of mass incarceration in America. But before we get to those, let's talk about your book. It's my understanding that your book details the principles you use to overcome challenges and go from broke and in jail to happiness and success. Please tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, thank you. It's been quite a journey, like you said, and so the book, I wrote that because I recently have come to an understanding about my purpose in life and kind of what I'm doing. And so basically I was incarcerated at a young age as well. When I was 18, I found myself, locked up, and obviously it's not where anybody wants to be. And I think, and so when I got out, I was faced with a lot of stigma, and
right.
even people, my own family and friends, I still carried that along with me. And so for the longest time of my life, I was trying to run from that and trying to get away from that as much as possible.
Right.
Because of that. But recently, it kind of came full circle to me, and I realized that by accepting that it's a part of me, and though I believe that our past does not define us, our mistakes do not define us, but we can learn from it, and if I can help other people, that's exactly what I want to do.
Absolutely. I respect that. And it's like sometimes some of the things that happen to us in life, it kind of prescribe us. It kind of gives us our prescription, our life prescription on what we're supposed to do. I mean, because who's better to talk from that position than you, as somebody who's experienced? You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. And you as well. Exactly. You're exactly right.
No doubt. But how would you, to go back a little bit, how would you describe the prison experience when you were there? How would you describe that experience?
Well, I would describe it as, this is years ago, obviously, but I'm sure it hasn't changed. But it's very dark. I mean, it's obviously a very dark place. It's hard to find any kind of positivity or, and in fact, I write a lot of poetry as well, and I wrote a lot of poems, and I wrote something along that. It's hard to even look up when you can't even see outside. It's really
Absolutely.
hard to see the light.
No doubt.
But when I was inside, though, there was another gentleman with me, and I kind of was intrigued by him because he seemed to be happy in a place like that, and he's kind of what inspired me to spark a change in me and my whole outlook on life.
Okay.
But
no, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But I was gonna say, the overall experience was obviously definitely not pleasant. You're not treated as a human being anymore. Once you've made that mistake, and once you're behind those walls, it's almost like you're no longer a human anymore. And that's what I experienced. And I think we all do.
Absolutely. Well, I can definitely definitely attest to that. They have their main purpose is to control. You got a small group of administrators, and you got a large group of inmates. So their main agenda is to control a large group of people, and then some of the tactics that they use, they kind of inspire that feeling, the feeling that you describe. They kind of create that feeling in us. But it's my understanding that when you got home, you change your behavior for the better. And what would you say was the motivation for that change?
Well, like initially, like I said, it was that gentleman that I happened to be locked up with, and he really sparked something in me, and so it kind of changed my whole outlook. So it actually started behind bars. It started where I received my diploma actually behind bars. I went to get my GED. I took some other classes there. And so it the momentum had already kind of started in there.
Right.
And then when I was out, I just kind of took that and just kind of carried it through me. And throughout my life, I had been living these principles. And even though I didn't know that they were principles at that time, I feel like now I can concretely put them into a book and say, this is what I did. These are the principles that I used to really change my outlook on life. And for some of us, it takes a long time. It took me a very long time because of the trauma and situation when I was a kid. It was very a traumatic childhood, and so I had to overcome a lot of that.
Okay. And would you expound a little bit on the principles? These are the same principles that you articulate in the 7 principles of success?
Yes. Yep. So what they are is and I love titles, and I love to use easy to understand themes, and so they're all principles, and they all start with P. And so the first one's going to be purpose. Okay, purpose is huge, and then you have passion, then you have positivity, you have planning, you have perseverance, patience, and the big picture, which is your vision, your overall vision.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to utilize these things, for some of us. And so I guess for me, what I started out with was positivity. That was the very first thing, and that's what that gentleman who I was incarcerated with really taught me a lot about, was positivity. I said, how can you be so positive in a place like this? And he said, it's all in here, and he pointed to his head, and I'm like, so he just kind of got me into that momentum, and it's really having a positive outlook on life. And in order to do that, it's going to take some clearing and reprogramming, because in our society, we're really programmed for a lot of negativity. Some of us are more susceptible, and we're born into more negative environments, and that can have an impact on us and our decision making.
Absolutely. And no question about it. And it's about like restructuring that and reshaping that whole spirit, that whole mindset, that whole heart. But I think it can be done. And in writing books that focus on the principles that your book focuses on is definitely a step in that direction. So I want you to know, man, I have tremendous respect for you embracing your history and using it the way that you're using it, because it's necessary, it's needed, like extremely needed. And so I mad love and mad respect for what you're doing. But to our listeners who may have someone that's on the way out of prison, or who maybe have recently been released from prison themselves, what would you like for them to know? What would you say to them about success?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, is that it doesn't define you. It's huge, and it's such a experience. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but it's a place that like no other when you're there, and to come from that, it's a huge transition. And so for someone like me saying this, it might seem, kind of cheap, but it's legit. I mean, it doesn't define you. It's not who you are. you know.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly why I believe in prison reform. I believe that there needs to be a more focus on rehabilitation. You know, I strongly believe that our whole view on the criminal justice system and the prison system, it needs to be, we need to have a better view on it. And because we're not giving anyone a chance here when we put them away and have that stigma on them, and it's almost like they're just forgotten. I mean, these people can be helped. We all can be helped. We all can have that change. And so I would say, you know, to the young man coming out, it doesn't define you. And it is possible. It is possible for you to be who you were meant to be and live in a positive way towards your success. It's possible.
And I think your story is a testament to that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and it hasn't been easy. I mean, like I say, it's easy for me to say, but it is true. I mean, my whole mindset is completely different. Before I went in, you know, a pastor, he said to me, right to my face, and on the kitchen table, he said, you know, Josh, if you keep going the way you're going, you're going to end up dead or in jail. And he said it dead in my face. And of course I didn't believe him. Of course I didn't hear it. Right. But shortly after that is when I became incarcerated. So it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to hear these things, but I believe that what you're doing and how you're helping people, it can get us in the right mindset, and these people that are behind bars, get them in the right mindset to accept these words.
Absolutely. And I definitely appreciate your words, and that's what it's all about. We know it's possible, so let's do what we can and make our contributions to taking steps in that direction. We know what happens when we do things the way it's been done. We get what we have. So it's time to switch it up. It's time to take another approach. And I think the only way that we're going to get there is for everybody bring all of their talents together, whether it's using our experiences and articulating our stories and articulating our whatever it is. We bring all of our talents together and just do what we can to shift things. And that's why I absolutely respect and admire people like you, and since I've been doing this podcast, I've had the extreme, ultimate pleasure of meeting some really, really great, interesting people that's about action, that's genuine, and that's dedicated to transforming and reforming things. So this is for me. Was one of the things. It's been this a gift to be able to have these conversations with such high quality, interesting, knowledgeable, dedicated, passionate people. But before we go, I want to make sure that
all
for our
calls,
listeners,
other than properly placed attorney calls, may be monitored and recorded.
I want to make sure for our listeners, for anybody that's interested in your book, where can it be? Where is it available for purchase?
Well, right now it's on Amazon. There's a Kindle ebook version.
Okay.
That's only 99 cents, and there's also a print version available as well. So it's exclusively on Amazon right now. Just look up The 7 Principles of Success by Joshua Kangley.
Okay. And I'm gonna make sure that I post links to it among this podcast as well.
Oh, thank you, Dante. You can also go to my website too, which is www.hellomynameisjosh.com. And I do have some podcasts on there, and so I'm just in the beginning stages right now. But I really want to take this energy I have and really do what I can and do my part.
Okay. And I'm here to help however I can.
Thank you. I mean, what you're doing is so uplifting. And like you just said, you know, you're spreading the word is so huge, and that's where really the hope is. The hope is in people like you. It's in the good people, which I believe are generally good. I believe people are generally good.
Absolutely. So let me take the conversation to. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your perspective, and one of them is how do you believe that America's gotten itself into this crisis, this incarceration crisis? How do you think we got here?
Wow. You know, I think that our society, I think our society, the way we view things and handle things is so it's allowed us to get to where we are. And I compare it kind of to our view on the healthcare system, because all we really do is we go to the doctor when we're sick. Our standpoint on healthcare is after the problem.
Right.
And so we're not as proactive as we should be.
Before.
Yes, exactly. So we don't put enough focus on helping these younger. Yes, exactly. Prevention and really educating these young kids.
No doubt.
And
I
giving
agree
them
with
a
100%.
chance.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, this is the thing for me, is that the knowledge, the science, the resources, it's all there to be more preventative, to help, to educate, to inform. It is all there. It's not like it's some foreign alien thing that's not in existence. It's there. It's there, and it's there to utilize, to be utilized. It's there to assist. It's there for us to use, but unfortunately we haven't got to that place yet. But I'm an optimist, and I believe that we will. So I hope that we will.
But yeah, I'm very optimistic too. I think that we also live in a kind of a weird society today, because I think that I'm very optimistic, because technology, we're able to spread the word. We're able to talk about these things, and people want to help, and people want change. We just need to let them know about it.
And I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that too, Josh. I genuinely believe that. I believe that the majority of people, great hearts, great spirits, great intentions. It just like you say, just need to talk about it. Need to show, need to inform. So tell me, so that kind of brings us to my last question for you, and you kind of spoke on it a little bit, but I'll ask. So what do you think are the first steps towards reforming it, towards changing it?
The first step. Well, what you're doing right here, totally. I mean, and I think we're getting there. And actually, I just listened to another podcast on your website there by James Williams. You had on there.
Okay. Yeah. And good conversation.
Yes, he spoke so perfectly about it. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, the first steps are just informing the people, and
no doubt,
and really getting the word out there. I think people are ready more than ever to want change, want to help, and be informed about what's going on. And the more things like you're doing here, the better.
No doubt. Well, I'd like to thank you again for taking the time this morning to answering my questions and having this discussion and sharing some pieces of your journey with me, man. I appreciate it. And I always believe that every time I do a podcast, every time I meet somebody new, every time I have the opportunity to explore somebody's perspective, it's a step closer to getting where we want to go. So I thank you for allowing us to take this step.
Thank you, Dante. I really appreciate it.
This is Dante signing off with the Incarcerate U.S. podcast, the place where all of our voices come together.
The caller has hung up.